In this video, I'll talk about proxy servers. A proxy server eliminates direct connectivity between internal clients and internet resources, and depending on the type of proxy server, internet clients connecting to internal resources, like a protected web server. So, really, we're talking about protecting the host's identity, where outgoing traffic appears to come from the proxy. So that way, the true internal IP address of the host is never known. So we must configure a proxy server for specific applications. So we would have HTTP proxies, FTP proxies, and so on. Transparent proxies don't require any client configuration. So in other words, as long as the client is configured with the default gateway, that device, the default gateway, would normally be their proxy server that they connect through to request content from the internet. But again, with a transparent proxy, you don't have to go, for instance, into your web browser and tell it the address and port number of the proxy server. Proxy servers are designed to retrieve internet content for internal requesting clients, and that content can be cached to speed up requests for the same stuff later. However, the great thing about this is that the internal client identity is never revealed. Now, proxy servers examine not only packet headers like a packet filtering firewall, but they also can examine the payload. So, for instance, that means the proxy server would be able to block connections to Facebook.com even outside of specific hours. Now, on a proxy server device, we want to make sure IP routing is disabled because we don't want things being routed out to the internet at the IP level, thereby bypassing the proxy server. We want the proxy server to have to examine everything. Proxy servers are sometimes also called caching servers. And it really depends on how the proxy server gets configured as to whether or not it's configured to cache content. Proxy servers can also be configured to prefetch internet content on a scheduled basis. The result of this is that it speeds up access for that content when clients actually request it. So, for instance, if we know that every morning users need to see information from certain web pages, we could have that pre-cached to speed up their experience. But we also have to consider the static and dynamic nature of the cached content. If it's stock quotes that change all the time, we probably wouldn't want to prefetch that type of streaming information. We can also configure cache aging timers, which is often called the time to live or TTL. So once data is expired after it's been cached, that cached content gets removed from the server. A reverse proxy server listens for connection requests for a given network service. So for example, it might listen for TCP port 80 website connections. Incoming connections to the reverse proxy server get forwarded to an internal host elsewhere. So for instance, we might forward requests to a protected web server elsewhere listening on either port 80 or some other port. Normally, reverse proxy servers are placed in a demilitarized zone for publicly accessible services. So it protects the true identity of the internal host offering that network service, and it's completely transparent to external users. They think they're connecting to the real thing. So this is great because the fact that we're even using a reverse proxy isn't even known by client devices. There are public proxies that are available out on the internet that can anonymize internet user connections. Now, this could be used, for example, to allow the bypassing of normal surfing restrictions, such as media content that is only served within certain countries. Well, using a proxy anonymizer on the internet, you can make it look like you're coming from another country. Now, I'm not suggesting that that's something you should do. It may or may not be legal where you are, but it is possible. It's part of the technology that's out there. Another way a public proxy might be used is so that we could use social media that's normally prohibited at school or at work. But again, if the rules are in place, there's usually a good reason, especially at work. So, in essence, what it really means is that the internet user appears to be initiating connections from a different location. Common proxy server products include Squid, Wingate, the Cisco Web Security Appliance, and Checkpoint's Security Gateway. In this video, we talked about proxy servers.